And we're going live. Okay. Hello, everybody, and welcome. This is Self-Love Sundays. Let me open up the chat so I can see here who we're speaking to and connecting with. And please feel free, any questions that you might have, put it in the chat in capital letters. I'll be really happy to answer your questions. This is a great place to, have questions answered. I have a lot of questions during the week about energy work and healing and meditation practice and transformation. So it's a really great opportunity to, get some of those questions answered. So let's go ahead and share this. If you guys are live in the chat on YouTube, please feel free to share this if you would like. Okay. Hello, Marielena, Capson Logs, welcome. Okay, guys, so Self-Love Sundays, as usual, this is a special gathering that I put together to focus on techniques of energy healing, cultivation of energy mastery, and especially during this time, cultivating that self-love from an energetic, from a holistic perspective, mind, body, and soul. How do we implement and integrate these spiritual practices into our everyday life and actually embody them rather than them being concepts and abstract philosophies and ideas? We need to embody them. So that's what this class is really about, this group. And so one of the things that I want to talk about today is the basic tools of alchemy. And from the perspective that alchemy being the transmutational tool that we utilize in order to shift from one energy stage into another. How can we apply that? How do we use that for our healing and for our manifestation? So all of these videos that we're doing right now leading up to the 8th, on the 8th this Thursday, I'm having a special group, hypnosis and healing, where I'm going to deep dive into the energies right now, because this is a wonderful, wonderful opportunity. And it's a very important, actually, initiatory gateway in the collective subconscious, because the collective subconscious is rising out of that dormant state into a very, very clear awareness about being this multidimensional self and what that means and how that's embodied. And so why it's so important to talk about that is because a lot of people, as we connect to the whole, the messages that are coming through, not only through me, but many people around the world, which makes it very interesting, is that we're going to be going through some major changes as a collective human race that are kind of dying off of old systems and the rebuilding of new systems. And so what that means is that we as humans, we have to prepare for that mentally, emotionally, and in our everyday lives, because we're not just talking about fantasies. We're talking about the way that we handle our relationships, the way that we hold energy, because as we move in to a more multidimensional awareness, we have to master that multidimensionality. And one of the core tools that are going to be helping us along this journey of a soul that we have all kind of chosen, is to train the intuition, to really train the intuition, the higher faculties, in order to navigate all of the ebbs and flow of life, the changes and the things that are happening. So it's going to be super important that we make that as a basic practice. And secondly, the energetic body, being very connected to that, studying, understanding the energetic body. How does it work? How do we cultivate health, vitality, and regenerative life force through our body in a way that we can create at this time? So energetic hygiene is extremely important at this time, because as we move into more multidimensional era, energetic era for the human race, it's really about how do you master your energy and the whole system of creation, which is through the emotional body, which is through vibrational frequency. It's all about frequency. So if you don't know how to hold your energetic space and you don't understand the mechanics of what's inputting into that frequency, um, what happens is that these stagnant emotions and energies will become magnified, and the way that we experience the outcome of those, how it responds and how it reflects to us in the world, is magnified more than ever. And that magnification is something that is a beautiful journey, but a difficult one, a challenging one, because it will force us to move out of that comfort zone that we have been for such a long time. And this is a necessary change in this collective subconscious experience that we're having in order to move out of stagnant states, old states of being, old thoughts, old systems of identity, systems of society, systems of collective connection. And those walls are falling in order to come into a more unity consciousness type of way of existing. And that is not easy, because for a very long time we have been told to be independent. We have these little false veils, these illusions, and a lot of it is a result of social engineering in order to create compartmentalized groups of ideas and separation amongst ourselves. And the worst part is internally, because we internalize those separations, and then we have profound internal wars, internal to us. And so what we are alchemizing essentially are all of these fears, shames, anxieties, insecurities, doubts, and we are alchemizing them into a strong unity within us. And the journey of the invitation of this time is, what is the new human that we're creating? What is the new way of being? What would be an opposite way of interacting with ourselves and the world around us? What does that look like? What does that feel like? Okay, so this is the thing that we are learning. Voice is kind of low. Let me see if I can fix that. Microphone. Oh, should be pretty good. Guys, yeah, so I'll try to speak louder. Okay. Yeah, so that's something that we want to look at. So let's take a look at a little bit deeper now at some of the things that we want to talk about. Today I had a kind of channeling that I want to talk about the tools of alchemy, the basic tools of alchemy. What are those? And they're not always what you might think of, the transmutation process of changing an energy into another. How do we do that? Well, first, we have to become aware of the energy that we are holding in the body. And that requires a still observation. It requires the ability to kind of center, calm, and shift from being the experiencer, interactor, reactor to the external things into a very subtle state of calm. And from there, find the observer that begins to observe how we are feeling, the thoughts, the emotions. And what that process allows us to do is to become aware. Now, awareness is one of the key tools for alchemy. And it's something that takes a long time, actually the longest time to cultivate from any of the other tools in the alchemization process and transmutational processes. Because our body is so complex, and because in the day and age that we're living, it's all about taking our attention and putting it in 3 million things around us. We struggle with ADHD, with ADD, with all kinds of ideas that being in the present moment and focused on certain things are something that deviates us away from the moment. So this is something that's really, really important, that taking back, and remember that that process of non-awareness is a centrifugal state of existence energetically. The body is depleting its life force externally in such a way that the body over time becomes disconnected from the 3 main energy centers of creation. Now, the 3 main energy centers of creation master the physical, the emotional, the energetic, and then the soul, which is connected to this physical body. And that infinite potential, which is animating this physical body, is something that becomes severed. So we want to reconnect that in order to become aware of what is happening. And of course, these disconnects are cultivated over time through trauma, through severe traumas, through disassociations with the self, with the inability to sustain strong emotions in the body, strong experiences, judgments. All of those things begin to create severe disconnect from the body and the mind, and especially the emotional body. So what becomes really difficult is for the body, is for the human to begin to become aware of the emotions that we're feeling and how we're feeling them, why we're feeling them. So the reconnection of that is through the awareness. And this awareness that we're cultivating is a non-judgmental observation, which means that as we begin to observe the things that we discover within ourselves, like you're a pioneer, like you're an explorer that's investigating yourself. This is a wonderful tool that you can utilize in order to take on this beautiful exercise. Because as you begin to kind of explore yourself, that idea that you're just looking at the information that's available through you allows you to shift from a place of survival, a place of separation, a place of judgment, into just a place of experience and observation. And that's the kind of perspective that we want to have when we are doing this work. So a state of observation to allow you to begin to identify first of all, what are you feeling? Okay. And that what we're feeling has a couple parts to it. Okay. First of all, why are we feeling that way? What is it that we're feeling? And who is feeling that? And the reason why we want to identify that is because we want to identify, and this is core deep shadow work. Who is feeling that? Is it the ego or is it the soul? And these are two elements of yourself that I invite you to observe as you're going throughout your day, because it will streamline the process and the confusion of what we're looking at and why, how to identify what we're experiencing. Remember that the ego, because it is an absolute necessary mechanism of this physical vessel that requires this identity, this self, this physicality, and it experiences the world through the physicality, through the five senses. So it's going to be a filter of contrast. The ego always will see things as a contrast because that's how it feels, that's how it experiences. And so for that, the invitation is that we gently merge the experience of those contrasts into one observation of the things that we are experiencing, and understanding that it's the ebb and flow of energy and exchange that we're here to experience as humans on the earth through this three-dimensional plane. So identifying this little ego and lifting the veils of separation for that ego, reminding the ego that it is that infinite potential, that it doesn't need to compartmentalize itself in all of the experiences individually that it's having. And of course, in the process of reunification of this concept of itself, emerges emotions, the energy, the creative life force, creation, which is unifying forces such as love, peace, harmony. And so these are foreign to the ego state until it begins to reunify itself as one observer instead of separate, or in defense of, or in survival of. That reunification provides a solid foundation. And the solid foundation is not from identifying an identity, a strong identity, one identity. Any one identity is going to cause suffering because we are infinite potential, and we are constantly being led into a plethora of experiences that allows us to see many facets of ourselves that are available to us. And we have to remember that. That is part of the maturity of a spiritual soul that is aware of what they're experiencing here in the human body, in this experience as a soul. And that is essential to this alchemical process. Finally, why we are feeling this, and what is the emotion that we're feeling, essentially. So identifying the emotion is going to be harder for the person that has a lot of trauma in their lives. It's going to be harder because due to that trauma, most of the time we disconnect from the physical body, we disconnect from our emotions, and trauma usually means that a disassociation has been created between the core, pure, innocent experiencer of that, and then a contrasting experience or imposing of ideas that don't quite resonate with the person, the experiencer. Okay, and the experiencer doesn't have the tools available to them to be able to address this experience that's happening. This is what trauma essentially is. And so we want to identify in our lives, what were those times that we felt we didn't have the tools available to us, or what are the times where we had this disassociative experience where we weren't sure how to respond or how to act. And that causes a severe disconnect and split in the energetic body, which is why observation is very important. Observation allows you, instead of judging, so notice that judgment is where the split enters into the field, energetically, emotionally, psychologically. So the observation will allow as a buffer to avoid further traumatization of this vessel as it experiences the unknown. So one of the most powerful alchemical tools is the observation tool that allows as a buffer between all of these multitude of experiences that we're having. The purpose of the human life is to experience contrast through this physical sensory body in order to reunify once again as the whole that we are, both physical, non-physical, more non-physical than physical. And so that remembrance process through our lives can be very painful, or it can be very beautiful, exciting, an exchange of discovery. So we want to try to come into that exchange of discovery more so than a state of suffering. Okay, emotions then have to be learned by the human. It doesn't matter how old you are, it doesn't matter how many years you've been doing work. I guarantee you that unless you are constantly sustaining a state of harmony and peace, there are many emotions of yourself that you still have not identified and understood. And as many, we always talk about the negative emotions, but as many as there are negative emotions, there are high vibrational emotions. And I'm going to share with you that in the next 10, 15 years, we're going to develop new high vibration emotions, the cultivation of a higher state of understanding. We are in our infancy state of a human race. And as we develop and as we evolve and as we mature as a human race into a more unity conscious race, we will begin to develop new ideas, new concepts of what it means to be a unified human race. Just as many advanced civilizations that some of you have been in contact with are beginning to, are showing us, are demonstrating to us, are sharing with us that we have little glimpses of that. Okay, but to be a unified race, a couple things have to happen. Remember, in these higher dimensional ranges, there's instant manifestation, which means that immediate absolute accountability for the things that you're thinking, feeling, saying, sensing, inputting energetically into the system. Now, that's great if you are a person that is aware of the consequences of your creation. But if you are still like a baby, just flopping around, barely even knowing yourself, your emotions, don't understand where your intentions are, what they are, how they're being received, This is a very immature yet way of existing, and that will cause suffering because the consequences of that will not be seen. So the next part of the intuitive body and the intuitive faculty is be able to understand the cause and effect of your creation. And this awareness of the cause and effect cultivates an incredibly strong intuition. If you train yourself to understand the cause and effect of the things that have caused you suffering, that have created who you are today, you begin to understand the veil lifts between yourself and human race, human nature. A lot of us have false ideas of what human nature should be, which are deeply indoctrinated concepts of family, of roles, of the feminine role, of the masculine role. And so we're so deeply stuck in those constructs, which are old systems that are now dying, and is one of the reasons why there's a lot of confusion, even of gender roles, for example, sex identities. Those things are not random. They're happening for a reason, because we are evolving into a unity consciousness state of being and existing. And what we will see on the other side of that is going to be a new way of co-relating with one another. So concepts of marriage, relationships, those ideas are kind of changing internally. Okay. So this change of how we hold our energetic space then, so given that, the intuition that is trained by understanding cause and effect helps us understand human nature, which as a result helps us cultivate compassion. Compassion is an extremely alchemical tool because it is the unifying force of which we begin to see ourselves as others, as one, essentially. And it unifies the internal splits of the self. The compassion towards yourself is essentially going to be the unifying glue that brings all your parts together. So if you have parts of you that you're still ashamed of or don't want to deal with or are still contrasting, this is where compassion will be a tool to reunify those parts. So this compassion is an incredibly creative life force, and it's one that we want to train ourselves to cultivate. The next part of that is that this compassion has to come from truth. Okay, so part of this intuitive faculty is to be able to discern truth. How do we do that? You see, truth can be very, depending on the perspective. So the kind of truth that you and I are developing through this healing work of observing many different perspectives in traumatic situations, for example, putting ourselves in the shoe of the person that harms us to understand. Okay. Not take responsibility or take on their wounding and the reason why they're doing that, but to understand human nature, which as a result helps you understand whether you should take on their emotions, whether you should take on suffering, whether you should stay in states of unconscious disconnect from yourself, and for how long. Because when we don't realize that, we can stay years of our lives in states of suffering, in disconnect, in mourning of the loss of relationships, connections, concepts and identities of ourselves that we build around these relationships. So this is a very important healing process of the human, and the discernment of truth that we're talking about is the ability to access higher laws of the universe. We want to operate by higher laws. The higher laws of the universe are the laws of free will, the laws of coherence, these kinds of laws of energy exchange, the mechanics of what it takes to be a human on this planet. When we understand that, now we can begin to play this game in this earth in a way that is creative, because all of these things that we're doing as an alchemist and for healing is for you to embody your creative state. And that's actually what we're trying to cultivate. If you are in states of suffering, disconnect, you cannot create anything at all. You actually only repeat the cycles of suffering over and over again. So what we want to kind of observe in this process is that these alchemical tools are the foundation of your healing. They are the foundation of the things that we have to put on our daily checklist to check in and see, are these things the things that we are focusing on? And if they're not, what do we need in order to begin to cultivate that? Okay. All right. So let me answer a couple questions, and I want to jump in here. If you guys have any questions, go ahead and put it in capital letters. I'll be super happy to answer your questions. Hi everyone, Jason, Darina, so wonderful. Thank you so much for being here. Ageless, Alchemist. Andreas says, this morning in my meditation, a lot of resentment came up. It took me by surprise. I thought I was healed, that aspect of myself. It took me back to memories of my childhood that I had forgotten. Excellent, Andreas. So this is wonderful. And this is going to be happening a lot for people. Okay. Emotions, pay attention to the emotions. And what I've learned through this process is that when you really begin to become aware of yourself, you're going to be surprised how much you have working in the subconscious mind. It can be a flash of a memory that happens because you see a certain color or you hear a certain sound or you smell something. That flash of a memory doesn't happen for just random reasons. Every single time I've taken those flashes and little tiny invitations, it's taken me down roles of incredible healing and expansion for myself in that present moment that I didn't even know I needed. Because in that little flash of memory, for example, was a feeling like when you begin to see and you go back to that little flash, what was I feeling in that moment? What was the emotion? More than likely, it's quite strong. You're going to feel it. You're going to recognize it. So as you recognize that little emotion, expand it, begin to feel it in your body. What is it? It can be melancholy. It can be a feeling of loneliness. And then you realize, oh, that feeling of loneliness was a lot during my childhood. In fact, my entire life. There's a reason why it's coming up. And a lot of times they're going to help prepare you for the next thing that is coming in that moment, in that day. It could be a phone call. It could be an interaction with a friend. All of these things are important. Your life is very interesting. Human life, human consciousness, human experience, human psychology, incredibly interesting. We are massively creative organisms that are constantly inputting into the system through the subconscious mind. But an unlearned body, an unlearned mind, non-cultivation of your energy and your awareness equals chaos. So the invitation is really that awareness is taken in. And the way that you process those emotions, use your body to feel them. Take those little memories, those flashes of memories, go back to that childhood memory, feel in your body. It's going to tell you where you've stored all of that emotion in your body. Okay. So it's important to unpack that. Okay. How to protect a child, clarifying own adult, child, and grandchild protection. Question, how to protect a child. Darina, can you clarify that question for me? What do you mean? What are we trying to protect from what? If you can expand on that. Okay, in the chat on the Zoom, I hope you guys can hear me. Hi, Candy. How do we still function when we leave our body because of trauma? Right, excellent question. So, well, the funny thing is that the majority of the time we are in states of hypnosis. Actually, we are quite disconnected from our body, but our bodies have learned how to navigate this earth mechanically, you know, and we react and we respond to the habits and the things that are programmed within us. Literally, we are responding through programs. Okay, so what do I mean by leaving the body? The observer, okay, and we've done this test before, this training before, where you tune into your five senses, and first you start off slow, right? Sight, sound, smell, taste, touch. And if you speed up the process in rounds of shifting from one part of your sense to the other, from one sense to another, when you see the observer, the one that is observing those sensations, that is the observer that we're talking about. That is your true self, actually. So that true self, the observer that is experiencing this physical body, when it checks out and it doesn't want to connect the body to the sensations, to the mind, the body is on autopilot. And usually it's pulling from the subconscious mind how to respond and react. And these are very repetitive cycles of behavior. So the body is unattended to energetically. And remember, because you are an energetic multidimensional organism, when you are not in this body attentively, holding your energy with intention, remember that in this universe, intention is what creates. And if you are not intentionally in this body, the body is being managed through the external. Okay. And because the multidimensional body, and let's take a look at that. Let me open up a present just to make it clear here what we're talking about. The multidimensional body, because of the many layers that the multidimensional body has, you know, constantly around it. Let me just give you some visual. Let me change this really quick. Okay. So remember, the body has many layers of the body. Let's see if I can try to find my mouse. Okay, can't find it. Okay. So remember that this multidimensional body, when it's unattended to, what happens? Okay, we have lots of tears and holes in this multidimensional body. Okay, because what's operating are the lower frequencies, the lower chakras. Okay, and so the lower bodies that are here trying to navigate the physical realm are only being seen through a very specific filter of perception. Okay, so let's say red, let's say it's survival. Okay, so what happens is that all of these other layers of our body, because the frequency that we're sustaining is so strong, and remember that every one of these frequencies, look at the energy frequency chart, every one of them has a wavelength that's different. It's different. Some are slower and heavier than others. And when the body is holding heavier, slower wavelengths, producing that, emitting the frequencies that are really low and stagnant, such as sadness, depression, disconnect, insecurities, doubt, mistrust in the self, fear, all of those emotions, if you are in a constant state of repeating and living in those emotional states because of your environment, you are a product of your environment, number one, and so is your body. Remember epigenetics, that in an environment, in a physical, biological environment of disconnect, separation, and fears, illness grows, imbalance grows, right? Disconnect. And so this disharmonizing state of existence severs the frequency that can reunite with the source cord, right? So source energy, which is infinite potential that animates this body, that connection becomes really thin. Okay, so the body cannot hold it. It's so thin that, you know, it rarely recognizes itself as source. How can you recognize yourself as source when you are completely disconnected from this infinite potential available? How can you see yourself as infinite potential? So what happens in the physical body is that it becomes very sluggish, slow. This is absolutely a centrifugal state of being. Your body is a vortex, and that vortex is not spinning. Okay? We develop cords, connections, leaking of our energy is completely out. And therefore, the body cannot spin. So what does it mean? The geometric shapes of the body that produce high vibrational frequency opening that allow the bioelectricity of the body to become a master conduit of creation is through the sustaining of the emotional body, biologically the regulation of the nervous system, and in that neutral observer that is now in a constant ebb and flow with its environment. Okay? So that movement in the body is extremely important energetically. The stagnation of energy in any of this field is what causes suffering and pain. So how do you function when you're not in your body? Not good. We're disconnected. We are completely unconscious. Everything that we know is coming from the limiting perspectives and filters of the programs that we have running in the subconscious mind. And those are survival programs. They are programs of separation and fear that maintain this human in a state of survival. So there are holes that are created in the field. Again, those tears and openings that I showed you earlier. And through those tears, we just completely lose the ability to control our life force. We deplete energy. Someone says something and all our energy goes in that direction. Another person says something, another energy goes in that direction. So that's it. The human is depleted by the end of the day. If you are exhausted by the end of the day energetically, over and over and over again, there's a problem. In fact, when we exist in harmony, in peace, the whole day is a regenerative experience. How can you turn your life into a regeneration rather than a depletion? That is the product of alchemical mastery. And this is something that we begin to cultivate in the body through the practice of the cultivation of the awareness, the emotions, and the energetic field. So let's talk about the next higher octave of alchemy. We talked about the tools in order to even access transmutation. The human has to learn how to cultivate this internal harmony and peace within themselves. And we have to be familiar with that. You have to familiarize yourself. We have to train ourselves. We are not trained to feel peace and harmony. And this peace and harmony is not just pretending that everything is okay and you're good. Remember, alchemy, we're not talking about putting smiles on our faces and being fake spiritual people. We're talking about the creation of this organism into a conduit, which is a completely different thing. To become a conduit of life force, there has to be certain biological changes in you. We have to breathe down to the base of the spine, expanding, learning how to breathe properly. We have to be able to snap our body from a state of chaos into a state of observation, of stillness, training this body, molding this body into this conduit of life force. And to feel love in the body can alchemize illness. It can alchemize pain, suffering. It can shift and change timelines of that you're experiencing. What are timelines? Nothing more than intentional co-creation of experiences. And those are all created from the subconscious. Only from the subconscious are you creating. So that's why this alchemical tool of awareness, in order for you to understand what is your intention behind what you're doing right now. If your intention behind what you're doing right now is to be loved, to be seen, to be heard, to be known, we have to understand that. And again, there's nothing right or wrong with those states of being, but we have to understand the intention, because then we're going to be able to take accountability for what happens next. If you don't know why you're doing things, you're also not going to understand, and you're going to be shocked and create trauma for yourself by the outcome of those things. So your intention in your, let's say, creator state here, your intention behind what you do is extremely important for you to understand how you see and experience the world. If you're in a state of constant seeking of protection, constant seeking of separation, consciousness, you're always going to be in these states of survival, competitiveness, separation, ambitious. Okay? All of these have to be understood, and you have to see and be truthful with yourself. So when we talk about higher truths, this is what we're talking about. What is your true intention? And gently help the body move out of states of separation and seeing the world as separate into a state of unity and peace and harmony. And that emerges naturally from sustaining states of neutral observation. Okay, so let's get into it, guys. And Candy, final thought on your question: how do we operate if we're leaving the body? We want to integrate the main primordial life forces in the body. The mastery of the first three chakras, the root chakra, which manages our survival, whether we feel safe, whether we feel at home, whether we feel secure, whether we feel good in our body. These energy centers have to be cleared from that heavy emotional debris, that unconscious programs that we're running from unconsciously, mechanistically. We have to begin to observe them and clear them. And we do them by acknowledging them and by clearing them energetically. The sacral body, the sacral chakra, which manages our sexual energy, which is the most important primordial creative life force for the human. The sacral energy is about exchanges, how we handle exchanges, whether it's money, whether it's energy, whether it's emotion, whether it's actions, the energy that we put into things. And all of that is based on core intentions. So if our intentions are rooted in shame, guilt, fear, you're going to understand what you're going to get. You're going to get shame, guilt, fear. So that is the kind of co-creative process we need to understand. The solar plexus, the emotional body, the solar chakra, this is the center of empowerment. If you have no control over your emotions, you have no power. We are disempowered completely. We are very fragile. We talked about fragility and vulnerability being very different. So we become fragile in the fact that the less that we know ourselves, the more fragile we are, because we can always be told by someone, we're this, and we're not going to be sure. We don't know. We're not sure. Maybe. And that doubt is the greatest separation and fractalization in the body. The doubt of your true feelings, your true emotions, your true authentic expression is the destruction of this human body. And little by little, it wears and wears and wears and completely destroys your source connection of yourself. So it's important to cultivate that trust in yourself as another one of our alchemical tools that we require. The cultivation of trust is the product of the cultivation of our intuition, our discernment, the operation of our life from higher laws, the laws of nature, the laws of unification, of creation, the respect of yourself and the respect of others, and the exchanges, the accountability, the honesty, the truth. You cannot be a spiritual being if you are lying to yourself or to others. Just doesn't exist. So to be truthful to yourself and to come into that profound raw authenticity, that profound integrity with yourself, that your actions, your thoughts are matching. There's not a disconnect between them. This is the process of self-love. The cultivation of self-love is built through that integrity. The cultivation and the strengthening of your intuition is built on a fabulously strong foundation of integrity. And these are things that we are cultivating as the divine feminine, as the divine masculine reunifies itself internally. So that is the difference between experiencing life out of the body, disconnected, and reconnected to the body. I hope that answers your question, Candy. Thank you for that question. Kristen says, can you speak about ingesting cannabis, mushrooms, alcohol, caffeine, and if it's useful to the human experience? Okay, so I've spoken a little bit about cannabis before, but let me, since you gave me so many different topics, which all of them really deserve a very specific thing because they're all going to affect you differently. And the reason why is because everything has geometry, okay? The crystallized structures, the geometric matrices that make up organisms in this universe are defined in that way by vibrational intention, vibrational construct. They have a vibrational construct. They have a vibrational frequency. Just the way the planet Earth has a very, very specific frequency, and so do all the human beings, and so do the way that they use energy, ebb and flow. All the living organisms on this planet have a very specific geometric construct in their crystalline form that affects the body in different ways. This is why food is important, because food is inputting data into your body and activating certain parts of yourself, nourishing different parts of yourself. And all chemical compounds obviously have their own construct that are also being affected. They all have directives and intention. So it is very important to understand that and to begin to live in a way where you're aware of that. Okay, and in order to live in harmony and commune with nature and with the earth in a way that is productive, what does it mean to be productive? Co-creation. It means that you are thriving, you are living in integrity with yourself. There's a profound connection between your intuition, your higher self, your purpose as a higher, just a soul experiencing this earth, not a career. I'm not talking about career. I'm talking about the frequency of your existence being a certain purpose for the experiences that you're having. All of those participate in the things that are more nourishing for you, that you need. When you come into congruency with yourself, all of the external things around you are nothing more than supportive energy for you. Now, drugs and stimulants are something that are very interesting because you are a biochemical organism. Your chemistry makes up probably about 40% of your functions and co-creation. So your emotions and how you are processing your emotions, that's a chemical process. And it is also bioelectrical, which affects your creation because you're a bioelectrical organism. So what happens when you start messing with the chemistry of your body? is that sometimes you can take the body out of balance. And sometimes there is such severe imbalance in the body that a chemical push will help the body. So, for example, cannabis. Cannabis, when you look at multidimensionally what cannabis looks like, there's an essence. Of course, it's a plant. Every plant has a certain essence. It has a certain crystalline geometric matrix to its construct. And when you look at cannabis, the structure is like a web, like a spider's web, and it is a representation of the divine feminine energy as the womb, the mother. It is a plant that represents the mother. It is a very healing plant for many things, but when it's used as for healing the body, it can regenerate, it can support, because it has a very nurturing essence to it for the body. Okay, but it is very important to understand that this can be very addictive to the human, especially when the human has traumas. Mother and father traumas, especially mother traumas, has been my experience working with hundreds of people. People that are addicted to cannabis have deep mother wounds, deep mother wounds. And so that's something that has to be understood. It's a complete severing between the intuition and the body, the divine mother internally. Okay, so for example, how do we alchemize the need? Excuse me. How do we alchemize the need for a chemical such as this? Is that we address the wound to begin with. Okay, and you can begin to notice many imbalances in the body that cannabis heals are rooted in a lot of these core belief systems in which there's a disconnect between the intuition and the body and its own regenerative healing energy, its nurturing energy. Alcohol is a neurotoxin, and alcohol is not good for anything. Okay, it really disrupts the organism, it dehydrates. The vortex spin of alcohol is absolutely centrifugal. Okay, so that's something that depletes the life force. It also creates holes in the energetic body, tears, and it further severs the disconnect between the higher self and the physical. People that utilize alcohol are in a constant dormant state. And really, to become sober of that, you just have to completely not, there's no such thing as just once in a while drinking, because every time that you drink, it is a toll on the physical body. Okay, so anyway, every single one of these things, I mean, we could talk about for hours really, but because there's so much complexity to it. But let me come back to this. Caffeine, in my opinion, all of these things have to be taken with discernment. Mushrooms, for example, in some cases can move, and remember that we have to remember how the wise beings used to use these tools before us. For example, the American Indians or the indigenous humans around the world that were more connected to nature and to the earth utilized things like mushrooms for healing and for opening vision. But it took training to do that. And that's why there's something called shamanic journeys, right? And the shaman is one that explores the internal worlds. And there are certain laws to that. Everything that you're learning here is preparation for the use of some of these tools, if and when you need them. But they are not things that have to be used as entertainment. And the reason why is because this is a very, very delicate system. Okay, the human body is an ecosystem, an interconnected ecosystem, and it's a self-regenerating, self-healing, self-sustaining ecosystem. You don't really need anything from the external to heal this body. And I'm not talking about medicine and severe illnesses. That's separate from that. The basic core of the human body is a regenerative organism. And when we learn how to utilize this organism, it regenerates and heals on its own, doesn't need anything external. When we come into harmony with ourselves, we can come harmonize with nature. When we come out of harmony, nature is there to support us. So these are supportive tools that can help the body regenerate, heal, reintegrate. And they have to be used with respect of the self and the plant or the mushroom or whatever object and chemical substance that you're taking, understanding the cause and effects. Yeah, so in my opinion, I don't advocate psychedelics, because I strongly believe, I'm a strong advocate, I am a proof, and I know for a fact that the human has the ability of cultivating these chemicals like DMT, which give you the same visions and abilities that these tools give you naturally. Things like ayahuasca, all of them have very specific structures that the human can experience, but there has to be some preparation. More importantly, clearing of matrix programming before you enter into the navigation of the natural earth realms. Those natural earth realms should not be abused through your body, because you can really destroy the body. I've had many clients that have come to me with developed schizophrenia after using ayahuasca. Okay, and when you look at their multidimensional body, they're full of holes. They have major splits. Usually it's a split up here in the crown, in the third eye and crown. It's split open, not in a good way. Split in half means not connected. The severing of the intuitive body, because it is abused. It's abused by using these chemicals that take out of balance, and there's a lack of integration between the intuitive body and the healing body, the physical. So that is really, really important to remember when you are exploring anything in this world. Just understand the consequences, okay? Anyway, my love, I'm sure we can talk deeper in that, and I will. How can we alchemize anything? For example, the effects of radiation and chemicals in the atmosphere. No, I mean, the thing is, my love, is that there are certain laws to this universe, and there are physics in this planet Earth. There are certain physics by which we abide by. Okay. Now the question again is why? Why are you alchemizing the things in your environment? Because we're such an intricately interconnected organism. When you heal your body, the world outside of you also begins to regenerate and heal. And it's through the body that we anchor healing energies into this planet Earth. So that's something that we have to understand, because right now we are so compartmentalized, separate, dispersed. We believe this illusion so much, and okay, the concept of illusion, it's an illusion, but in the sense it's a holographic construct that's very much physical. We are here, we are physical beings, we are experiencing the physical, but there are certain laws to that. Okay, we have to understand what that means. So to be in harmony with nature, first you have to be in harmony with yourself. Then you can begin to enact on the natural world. You can work with it, you can interact with it. That's why humans that begin to develop higher frequencies within their body, they have a mastery over the material world. We can change things, we can grow things, we can regenerate things in nature with your will, with your intention. This is something that can be done. I have done it myself. It can be done. Because when you operate in this pure state of unconditional love as a result of this 0 point, you are in harmony with the creative laws of the universe. And so you can begin to work in harmony. But you see, that state of being is very far away from our basic understanding of, oh, I really want to, change this world somehow. Those intentions, they're too disconnected. Everything has to be done through the body, in the body, through the body first. You cannot affect anything outside of you if you're not integrated internally. in a harmonious, expansive manner. Okay. Okay. Awesome, guys. Let's get into the meditation. Thank you for your question. Any more questions? Just go ahead and put them in the chat in capital letters. Let me see my chat here. Let's see. Do you help us lift the veils in a private session? Yeah, so private sessions, I have two different kinds of sessions. One of them is hypnotherapy, one of them is DNA reprogramming. So DNA reprogramming is actually the deep shadow work that usually causes sustained shifts in your life, because we're completely reprogramming core belief systems that don't work for you anymore. And we are learning how to feel, sense, recognize, understand, embody the new version, the alchemized aspect of yourself. So it's deep work, and it's a very healing. It's a reconstructing of the way that you see, feel, and hold yourself energetically. So it is all about recognizing what veils you have and working to construct something different. And it takes time. So these sessions are designed to teach you how to do this work continuously, not just with me one time. That's what the purpose is. And in hypnotherapy, it's very powerful because you go deep into the subconscious mind. You can travel into past life aspects of yourself, remember yourself, recover memory, which allows you to go deeper into the reconnection with your higher self. And as you access the higher self, you channel your highest truth. And it's a very, very healing, not only for the body, but when you're in that frequency, the whole body begins to align into a higher octave of existence. And it's a wonderful, sustained state of being. You also deprogram subconscious core belief systems in hypnotherapy. So if you're interested in that, definitely check out my website. I experienced the spiritual realm recently, very profound. Wow, Nicholas, that's amazing. What is the effect that the Schumann resonance has right now? I can't see because it's the Schumann resonance is very high right now. Oh, there's such a huge effect of that, guys. The Schumann resonance is absolutely affecting the body tremendously. And a lot of you have been feeling that physically, but it's about frequency. And I talked about the relationship of the sun and the human organism. And especially right now, the gateway that we're going through, this Lion's Gate situation, is all about the sun's relationship with the earth, which masters the heart center. Okay, so the sun is connected to the earth. But here's what happened. All of our DNA, our DNA and our entire human body is being affected by the waves of frequency that are emitted by the sun. The sun is you can think of it as an information center. It's a satellite. It's a core center of information, like a router that takes waves of frequencies of the universes, okay, all of our universal neighbors here, and processes that information. So the solar system functions like an antenna as a whole, because it has its own vibrational frequency, and the sun is in charge of processing those main data waves that then are distributed amongst the planets based on frequency. Planet Earth, because planet Earth runs by the law of three, it's all about the creation and the experience in the physical body. So we feel the sun waves very powerfully through the body, and they highlight, because it's a frequency game, depending on the density of the frequency that's coming from the sun, and the Schumann resonance, which is, these waves of energies that are coming into the body, are being affected. The earth, the frequency of the earth is picking up based on this frequency as a filter. It filters the information of the sun. into each one of the organisms of the body. Now, the planet Earth is the mother. It is the divine feminine creation, law of three. It's a feminine energy, the Earth, because it's all about creation on this planet. So that core energy of creation on the planet Earth is a very regenerative energy. When we use that energy from healing, and I talked about this in the video that I did a couple days ago about running Earth energy, the frequency of the Earth, the color that the Earth has chosen is the color green. So when we pull that energy into the body, it heals the body. That's why going into nature and grounding automatically restores the brain waves into a very optimized state. And the organs of the body as well are regenerating better. So the planet Earth picks up these solar flare energy informations and translates to the body. And we have to, the more dense heaviness we have in the body that blocks the flow of life force, the more you're going to feel the shifts of the communication between the sun and the earth. Okay, because the body is very heavy. We're not spinning, we just have all kinds of debris in the body. So, you got a lot going on here, and very little of this energy is able to enter into the body. That's why energetic hygiene is so important. So let's get into it, guys. I'm going to stop right there. And we're going to jump right in. Go ahead and get nice and comfortable. Go ahead and ground yourself down to the center of the earth. Breathing. Come into a state of stillness, as still as possible. Come into a state of observation. Allow yourself to breathe down into the abdomen. Go ahead and begin to reconstruct your field. See the sphere around you, that is your energetic field, and begin to observe for any holes, any tears. Until you are completely enclosed inside a perfect solid sphere all around you. This sphere represents your entire multidimensional body and the health of your multidimensional body. Go ahead and focus on the root chakra. Go ahead and shrink that root chakra down, front and back, beginning to control and regulate the information that's being over-processed and out of balance from the root chakra. And so that it becomes very visible to us as we open our third eye in a moment. Begin to see all of the over-processed stagnation in the body very clearly, without any disturbance, without any interference. The over-processing. Go up into the sacral, shrink it down to the size of a dime. As you shrink it down, you will be able to see very clearly the debris in your field, in your second layer of your body. You are refining your filter of perception Every time you shrink your chakras, you begin to refine your filter of perception. Go into your solar plexus, shrinking that chakra down to the size of a dime, disconnecting any imbalance. Take a look at your third layer of your body, your emotional body. What do you got going on there? Is there a lot of stagnant emotions, a lot of heavy thought forms? You'll notice that the body feels much lighter as you shrink your first three chakras. You'll notice that it's easier to go into a deeper state of peace and calm because you are distilling the debris, the static that is so loud in your space when you are unconscious of how you're holding your first three chakras. Remember that they are our filters of this world, of this external experience. So we have to learn how to see things as they really are, not as we are, because where we are is unlearned yet. We're not completely connected with ourselves. If we don't know ourselves enough, we're not going to really know the difference between a higher state of consciousness and repeated patterns. So we have to create a contrast in order for us to be able to see clearly what is operating in our energetic space. And that's what the shrinking of the chakras help you. Go up into your heart. Go ahead and expand your heart chakra. This is the center of coherence. Your ability to see yourself as all, your ability to love unconditionally yourself and others, to feel compassion, a very healing, regenerative life force, one of the most powerful creative life forces in the body. Go up into the throat, expanding the throat just a little bit larger. Remember, you're expanding spheres around you, not just flat discs. As you expand your throat chakra, opening the center of communication of your truth, open that up. Go up into your third eye, expand your intuition, your intuitive faculties. Go up into your crown, activate the crown, enter your creative color. If you don't know your creative color, you can work with me privately. I can help you identify it. Those of you already working with me, you already have your color, put it in. And if you don't know what color to use gold. You're going to enter, you're going to align your higher self. This is the intention that I want you to have right now. You are aligning your higher self with the area of your career, with relationships, with family, love, abundance, health, vitality, all of your creative life forces, such as sexual energy, money. You're going to highlight and align yourself with your purpose. Align your higher self with your purpose so that your purpose is the higher self and the higher self is working through your purpose. Whatever it is that brings you the highest bliss and form of creation and health. From the center of the earth, go ahead and bring up a powerful wave of green life force that comes rushing up the legs, the thighs, into the solar plexus, creating a vortex of energy. If green feels too strong, use gold. From source, go ahead and bring down a powerful wave of gold cosmic energy down through the crown of your head, down your spine, combining with the earth energy. Focus on your breathing. Focus on releasing your muscles as you sustain the stillness, as you feel this energy running through your body, rotating at your solar plexus, mixing. Go ahead and take 10% of that combination of green and gold or gold and gold and send it back down to the center of the earth. You're opening a channel of elimination out of your body down to the earth. You're also opening a channel of healing, which you're going to, in a moment, connect with Source. Take 80% of this combination, send it up your spine and from the crown of your head. Open the blocks from your heart, your throat, your third eye, and push them out through the crown of your head, coating the outside of your sphere as you transmute all of that stagnant energy into Source again. Remember that as you are doing this, you're also breathing and sustaining stillness, and also remembering that you're still in this room. You are very much in your energetic body, but you're also in the room. Master that awareness. This will help you ground in your body. Whatever thoughts, emotions come up, redirect your attention to what you're doing in this moment. Take that final 10% from your solar plexus up your spine. Begin to infuse all of your physical body with it, coming into your pores, your flesh, your muscles, the bones, down to the cellular level of your body, transforming any death into life, transforming stagnation into movement, into regeneration. You should be really grounded by now. We're going to begin to clear our energetic field. Imagine that 13 spheres around you. You're going to clear them as if you're using a window cleaner, swiping down the walls of those 13 layers simultaneously. You can start at the front of your body and work clockwise, clearing the 13 layers of your body. Notice the different layers of debris that you have in the different layers. You're going to send them all down to the center of the earth, down your grounding cord, alchemized back into the earth as love, out of your body. Maintaining neutrality, no attachment, no emotion, just observation. Notice harder to remove debris, but as you soften your muscles and don't resist, the easier it'll move from your body. As you're clearing the layers of your body, the body becomes lighter. Notice at the bottom of your field, if you've accumulated a lot of this debris at the bottom of your field, imagine that you're draining it out, vacuuming it out, exploding, putting it on fire, whatever feels real and easy for you. Do it. Remove this debris out of your body. This is basic energetic hygiene. It should be done every day, 3 times a day. It's part of your practice of awareness. Let's go deeper. Go up into your crown. I want you to see your karmic contract room. This is a room that's filled with all of the agreements, the experiential agreements that you have made in unconscious states, past life, present life, in order to learn all of the things that your soul needs to learn through karma. We're going to dissolve those. We want to learn the same lessons through love rather than karma. Go ahead and eliminate all of those contracts. Your room can look like a stadium filled with contracts in every seat. Your room can look like a castle. Whatever feels real to you. Eliminate those agreements. They can look like papers, paper rolls, books, tablets, whatever it is, clear it out. As you do this work, your body will feel lighter and lighter with every technique and every exercise that you're doing here. Clear it out. And where that house once stood, I want you to fill it with your creative color. It's empty, but filled with your intention. Your intention is that you want to learn these same lessons and even more from your higher self, from the wisdom, from the awareness, from the higher communication, rather than from suffering and separation. Let's go to another room. I want you to create a room, and in that room is going to appear shadows. These are the shadows of people that don't have our best interest, maybe parasitic relationships, people we've met and people we haven't met yet. Go ahead and shine your crown light and dissolve them. We want to experience exchanges with people that are in resonance with the higher octave of ourselves, not the lower. And we're going to intend that with our frequency. And we're going to hold that by sustaining our frequency. Begin to now, we're going to remove pictures. These are deep traumas, blocks that you are working on at this time or working through, that are existing in your field. Go ahead and scan your field for these pictures. These can be pictures of random objects. It can be shapes, shadows. It can be very clear images of something. Just see them in your space. These are the blocks in your body. They may or may not have meaning to you, shapes. But as you see the debris that is in your field, gently dissolve them. You can blow them up. You can incinerate them. You can burn them up, cut them up, whatever feels real to you. Just allow yourself the easiest way to remove them from your space. And when I say gently, I mean there's no need to use any kind of emotional input. This is just neutrally clearing out blocks that no longer serve us anymore. We are acknowledging them, and we are ready to move through them. Trust what you see. Do not doubt. The first thing that comes up is usually the right one. Again, once you clear these out, you're going to feel your body even deeper in the state of calm, more relaxed, more expanded, more clear, more grounded. That means you're doing something good. Allow yourself to see yourself now over the past 24 hours. What is the emotion that most came up for you? Take a look. Feel in your body how that emotion felt for you. How do we express it? How do we suppress it, contract it? How are we using this emotion in our body? Feel it. Become aware of the side effects of feeling this emotion throughout your day. Notice the impact of the emotion in your relationships. Notice the impact of this emotion on your projects, your goals. Listen carefully to what's being said to you through this insights. Sometimes we hear something we don't want to hear. Pay attention. Ask yourself, who is feeling this? Is it the ego or the soul? What does the ego want? What does the soul want? What does it? You'll notice that if there's a strong desire for something, that's always the ego. Soul needs nothing, wants nothing. It's complete. But observe that not from a judgment, but from an observation, from a learning, from an understanding. And as you identify what it needs, what is it that you need from yourself in order to be able to embody that? You don't know what you need, keep asking yourself in layers until you identify the core need. Very good. As you're identifying the core need, you're asking yourself, what is it that we need in order to be able to provide that for ourselves? And as you identify that, oftentimes you go deeper and deeper until you find the real core, the real need. So as you have identified that, I want you to infuse yourself with that which you need. Infuse yourself with everything that you need. You can see it as a color, as an emotion, as a thought, as an understanding, as a comprehension. You can see it deeply as you integrate it within yourself. When you really identify the healing and the need, you will really heal. When you identify what you really need at the core, that's when you will feel the healing. You will feel your body coming back together. You will feel the nervous system coming into a homeostasis. You will feel the body coming more deeper into itself. And that's all it takes. The body requires acknowledgement. The emotions require acknowledgement in order for us to allow and integrate, but we have to provide it with new information, supportive evidence for why it needs something different. I want you to allow yourself to focus on the root chakra once again. Go ahead and open that root chakra back into a balanced state. Go open to the sacral, opening the sacral back into a balanced state. The solar. Go into the heart. I'm going to close it just a little bit. Into the throat. Close it just a little bit. Into the third eye. Go up into the crown. You're going to activate your seventh, your eighth, your ninth. And above you is a powerful white light of source. Go ahead and pull that white light of source. Widen the source cord as you anchor it through your body. Expanding and clearing the pathway through the body, down through the perineum into the center of the earth. Very good. And go ahead and allow yourself to come back into the room. Welcome back. I want to thank you so much for joining me today. This is a wonderful time of healing, transformation, awareness. And I invite you guys to really do this work every day if you can. I want to thank you so much for that super chat, Jason. That's so kind of you. Thank you so much. That's so lovely. Your super chats definitely help me maintain all of this information freely open to you guys as much as I can. So I hope you have an incredible week this week, and don't forget to love yourself. Love yourself. Give yourself a hug all the time. And remember, you are infinite potential, here to create. Thank you for joining me. Love you. Will you post the replay? Yeah, the replay is on my YouTube channel, Candy. You can go ahead and grab it on the YouTube channel, Geraldine Orozco. In case you don't have that, let me see if I can put it here in the chat. You guys can check it out. Here, I'll put it over here. Thank you for all your love, you guys. You guys are amazing. Love you. And I will see you soon. Bye-bye. Thank you. Thank you.